All right, hey everyone. This is going to be a video to walk through a little bit of setup of ISBoxer and how it pertains to like EverQuest particularly. So we're looking at the ISBoxer tool here. Hopefully you've gone through and installed it. There is plenty of easy, even after you open it up, it's got a link right to the wiki page right in there. So we don't want to go through like any of the install stuff there. We just want to go through like, hey, cool, how do I get this set up to work with EverQuest specifically? Because this is a pretty universal tool that works with, I think there's dozens of games. But before we kind of get any further, let's get into like the disclaimer side here. Because it's sort of intentionally unclear from Daybreak or Darkpaw or whatever the heck we're calling them these days on the use of third-party software. So, and especially within the last couple of months, with a lot of bans going on for MultiQuest, and probably potentially some other ones there, but I think largely MultiQuest is what most people use or some variation of it. So ISBoxer, so far to date, has not been touched by Daybreak. So people that are utilizing it have remained safe. One of the big things behind that is ISBoxer does not interact with the EverQuest client in any way, shape, or form. It is not sending any data to the servers. It is not looking at any data from the servers. ISBoxer is a user interface program. It's an input program. It is only interacting with Windows. It is telling Windows, put these windows in this particular layout here. So the same thing you would do with like two Internet Explorer windows or Chrome or whatever, like you're dragging and shaping them so it covers this half of the screen and the other half of the screen or whatever. So ISBoxer is just doing that to the EverQuest windows. And then the other thing that it's doing is it's taking the inputs that you type in or click with your mouse and sending it to different windows. So it's telling Windows this number one keystroke, send it to all these windows. So it's not interacting with EverQuest the way like MultiQuest does, where MultiQuest like controls toons for you, or looks at data coming from the server side on maps and tells you where all the spawns are at, kind of a thing. So it's not hacking in any sort of way, like any sort of like data inputs, outputs. So it is by and large relatively safe. So like even recently there was a post made on their forums where they specifically discussed that they consider hacking, they consider third-party softwares to be suspendable, bannable, that interact with and send data or utilize any data coming from like client server side type interactions. I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm not sure the specifics there, but like they very specifically stated it as such in their thread. And they also stated in there that they will be, that they won't name anything specifically because that could change. Because when you take a look at the actual end user agreement, it's a little bit broader in there. All that the end user agreement states is that third-party software that gives you an advantage is not allowed. So it doesn't specify much beyond there. It just gives you a very broad like terminology there. It gives you an advantage, and this software here is going to give me an advantage. I could do more than somebody not using the software, and it makes things easier than somebody not using the software. However, like again, since like this is just basically input, like if Daybreak or Darkpaw, whatever, again, were to go after this, basically all I have is a fancier keyboard than other people. So they're sitting there and saying like, we're going to start banning people because their keyboard has more buttons than other people. And that would just be a very slippery slope to go down. So you're generally pretty safe using this. But on the flip side, companies don't always make the best decisions, and there's been some poor decisions out of them recently, and you can just kind of tell in the last year or so. They sometimes will often step over dollars to pick up dimes. So you can't say for certain. So long story short, after a couple minutes going on there, you have to use this at your own risk. If you have any sort of fear, like don't go any further, stop here. But by and large, you're probably pretty safe utilizing this. So all that being said, we'll actually go through the setup here, and it's really, really quick. This may be like, I may have to split this off because there's a couple of portions here where when you're going through accounts, there's some like login information that you could put in. So I don't necessarily want to share that kind of stuff, like not passwords, but at least login details. So when you open up ISBoxer, it's going to look like this. You're going to have the setup here, and there's a couple windows here and all these options here. And I'll be honest with you, 90% of this, like I've never touched, I've never gone into, which I think this will help just kind of get you very simply, just quick, how you get up and running, and not getting into the intricacies of it. So the first thing you want to do is go into your wizards and the wizards selection here into quick setup wizard. And what this is going to do is going to allow you to set up profiles. So there's these character sets here, which are all like the kind of group settings that you want. So you got like 5 characters in this group, 6 characters in that group, 7 characters in the other group, or whatever is going on with your particular makeup. And what this does is it's nice. You can right click and it's going to allow you to launch all of those. So it's not going to like log into the game, but it'll open up 5 windows for you in the correct order. So like it'll launch them so that the first window, second window, third window are all the exact same like characters and always in the same spot there. And you can adjust it around by just changing like login information kinds of things. But it'll help keep that similar. And in the next video, when you're live in game, you'll get a little bit of a better idea of what that looks like. So that's majority of what we're going to go through today is setting that up so that it's good to go. And when you're setting these up is when you'll have a couple of areas of opportunity to change some settings to your own preference. So quick setup wizard. So first option here, simple, we're going to select our game. We're going to go to the next. And this is where I'll probably cut off here in a second and move on into the next portion there. But what it's going to want you to do is actually select your group. So you've got all the characters from all the servers here. So it's just taking a look at some logs and seeing like what characters have logs going on which servers. So you could click like these drop downs here and it's going to show you like I've got some like toons on Zek still from years and years ago. So it'll show those characters there and you would click them and it would pop up some details and information in here. And then all you're going to do is just add the character to the team. So you just want to go through and find your characters and add them in there. And then the next one here is just it's defaults because it sets your games here. And then you could go to Everquest Launcher or Everquest Client, and that's just going to be the difference between a launcher will launch right into the Everquest window, and the client will open up the Daybreak launch pad. So the launcher tends to be the better option because the launch pad it'll only open up one. You'll have to select it, log in, then it'll auto open up the next one. So the launcher itself will actually open up all your windows for you, and then all you got to do is just type in your information. So it helps save you a couple seconds there. Unfortunately, due to privacy, can't really walk you through that there, but it's super simple, super straightforward, and shouldn't be too hard to grasp on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it here for a quick moment and kind of get some stuff set up in here, and then we'll move to the next step and start back up. All right, so I went through here. I have added my characters here, so I've got 6 toons selected and popped into here, just a random 6 just to get stuff up and going here. And we're going to click the next. And so this is just what you want to name it. So if you remember when I clicked this character setup here, you can name it what you want, like alt group, or box, mission group, or power level group, whatever you got going on here. So we're just going to name this YouTube, spell YouTube test. We're going to go to next. All right, and this is where we've got some options that you're going to want to play with and want to customize to your display and your monitor or monitors setup. So I've got a big wide screen here, just a single monitor display. When I click down here, there is a bunch of options here. So at the first one here, like these existing Windows layouts. So like these are just existing profiles that I've got going on. So I could click here and it'll just mimic what I already did. So if you're setting up a couple of profiles and you just know you got one that you like, you just reset that up. But when you're first setting it up, you won't see those. And you'll have these here largely broken down into two categories. So single monitor corner and single monitor layout here. So when I select the corner, you'll see what it's going to do is it's going to fill out the full screen where the main window is right there, and then your second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth tunes are right there, wrapped around the corner. The one down here, the layout without the corner, what it would do is it would fill out this whole humongous screen here, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down at the bottom. My monitor is 45 inches. This is, I've tried to go full screen like that, and it is absolutely obnoxious and just, it looks weird, and EverQuest just doesn't like it. It gets very like fisheye lens distorted. So we're not going to go with a setting like that. So what we're going to need to do, and what you'll probably want to do, is figure out, like, majority of people probably play in some sort of windowed mode. You want to figure out like what that pixel layout is. So how many your pixels wide and tall type of thing. So figure out how to kind of like measure it and see what it is. Like it can be as simple as just take a snip and go into, I think you can even do it in like Microsoft Paint and figure out like height and width of a file, or go into Photoshop or Photopia Online or whatever you want to do, figure that out. And you're going to go into the main window size here and change that width and height here. So I just happen to have it memorized at the moment. 1960 by 1040 is what I play in when I normally play. And it's also going to be better for you to set it up to what you normally have, for the sake of like all your buttons and hotkeys, so everything is going to match and be what it was before. So you don't have to kind of play around with where things are at if it gets too condensed or too much bigger. So long story short, figure out like the window size that you prefer, unless you want to go just max huge full screen there. And you might have a UI setup that works well already. That's kind of scalable. I don't, because my personal UI is just kind of like messy, sloppy junk drawer that I've just gotten used to and know where everything's at. So I got that in there. And every time you do a setting change here, it's going to just reset back to the default there. So now that I've got that selected, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go back to single monitor layout, and you'll see, all right, cool. Like it shrunk it up to that 1960 by 1040, which is like, I think just like old school, original HD kind of setup here. And then it's going to scale the other windows to kind of best fit it, because I've got it selected to single monitor corner layout. I'll go down to just normal layout and select it like that, and it's going to look like this. So it's got the windows across the bottom there, and the one that's the main one at the top there. And this is my personal preference here, because what this does is it gives me this awesome real estate right here for Netflix or browsing EQ resources. So I've got quest details on screen, and all that kind of fun jazz. You can also go into the preferred edge here, which is where it's going to put your extra boxes. So it's at the bottom. I'm going to go to the top, and again it resets down there, and I'll go back here, and then bam, it's on the top there. We can go right and go here. Up, that's the corner one, and go here, and it puts everything there to the right. So you can go around here and just kind of finick and play with how you want it personally set up. I'm gonna go back to bottom because that's what I like. And then the next things that you see here. So there's two options that you could select in here. So your avoid taskbar and leave hole. So when we get up in game, I'll show you what that actually means and what it looks like here. But for now, when you're setting everything up, either this corner setup or the layout, make sure you have at least leave hole selected. So we are set to go there, and you'll get an idea what this looks like. So I've got 6 characters, but now there's 7 here, but it'll be easier to explain to you in game what that actually looks like. So cool, I like this. It's got my windows here all set up so that this matches my user interface perfectly. And puts my windows along the bottom, so it's nice and easy to view for me. We are going to go next. And this is going to be some CPU and FPS stuff. So this right here, the only thing you're going to want to change here is ensure that your background FPS matches your foreground. You could do some of this within EverQuest settings, but since this is working from a Windows standpoint, this will override it if you don't change it. And for whatever reason, that's the main reason that follow gets wacky. Whatever windows in the background, if it's not matching the foreground FPS, that's when the background toon will start to do weird long arching turns and get all cattywampus on you. So go around there, go here, make sure you get that set there. As well, you can get into some CPU stuff here if you've got like multiple cores and things like that, but by and large, this is just such a lack of a resource hog that you should be able to just, the default setting will just help make sure it spreads it across cores. But if you're more tech savvy and are doing other things, you could play around with that. From there, it's going to get you into some initial setup on hotkeys and things like that. So some stuff to turn the broadcasting on and off, but you'll see once you're in game, there's an easier method. It'll put a button on screen. There is some games have follow and target already like mapped to keys. Unfortunately, EverQuest isn't one of them, so you can ignore this here because you would just want to change it if, like, I think like World of Warcraft, if it's a certain key, you just set it in there so that this program knows what keys those are there. But you'll be using just like a follow command as normal in EverQuest to get that going. But if you know how to get this to set up with EverQuest, let me know. But it doesn't seem too functional within EverQuest. With that, we are going to click finish and we're done. We're good. We're set up. I'm going to go into the character sets here, and it's down here at the bottom. You see I got a bunch of other stuff here that are just ones I could probably delete most of those because I've just been playing around with them. But it shows me my slots that are in there. And this is where you can come into and adjust some other additional things. I have so far to date never done this. I've looked into some stuff, and there's definitely some stuff that could help. On just adding some additional keys, and there's ways you can set up it so it will repeat keystrokes and things like that, but I haven't gotten that detailed with it. I haven't found too much of a need, and I prefer to still have some command over everything. But yeah, that's it. From that point here, all you'd want to do is right click and launch it, or you can send a shortcut to your desktop so it's right there. And if you just want to launch a particular character, you can come in here and launch that particular character, and it will put them into like that whatever slot that they're in here. So like the number 4 slots would put them so that they're along the, for me, that bottom, they would be like in the 1, 2, 3, 4th spot there. And it'll always lock them into that place there. So yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll end it right here. Get this uploaded, and next video will show some actual in-game functionality.